It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to share this stage with other companies. It's a strange time to be here because if you think about what is a Brazilian doing in Egypt, talking about open source for Microsoft. Brazilians, we're good doing soccer. We're not really doing open source. What's the relationship about Brazilians and open source? I have been working with communities in open source for a long time. In Brazil, all around the world, I have been presenting, I have been participating in events. And it's interesting that our friend Jan here told me about something very interesting. Open source, it's an emerging economy. Brazil, it's an emerging economy. So that's the relationship. Why not, if the world is looking to Brazil and saying, how you guys can do that? Why not Microsoft could look at open source and ask the same question? How you can do that? We can't, or we have to learn. So this is what I think I can contribute to you today, is some of my stories, some of my experience in Microsoft working with open source companies. What do we do in Microsoft with open source? The things have changed, times have changed. See, we're not the evil empire anymore. And open source is not this thing that we say bad words about. So we have a strategy around this. So I'll talk about this. This is how IT became consumer, how this thing is changing so fast. And this we need to understand better. And it's how open source participates in that as well. How cloud computing is doing the same thing. And again, how the standards is bringing this to the same spot. So what's the consumerization of IT? If you look at the scenario, right, the traditional things was, okay, here's a user, and I want control about this guy. I want to see what he's running. I want to see the exact icons that are in his desktop. He cannot access this, he cannot access that. But now, things have changed so much because, first, you have a tablet. This thing is mobile. You don't want control. You want governance. It's a different thing. And the other thing is corporate devices. You can't control, like, which mobile phone does your employee have. He has any phone. So this thing has changed it drastically. So our look at it is how can we, and we will see what group I am, is how can we look at this picture and how can we embrace with open source to also have this scenario with and participate. The other thing is this technology transition. This is real. So this year we have more virtual servers than physical servers being shipped. So this is a change. This won't come back. So there are more virtual machines than real machines. So, and cloud means that the first step to go to the cloud is you really have to be very high virtualized. If not this, so cloud doesn't exist if you're not really, really virtualized. So this is a major change, and it's happening now. The other thing is support for standards. My friend gave me such a great introduction here is standards. We need standards. We can't only, and then it's not only Microsoft working and says, oh, you have to use the way I produce software. No. We have something now that we embrace standards from the design. So a product cannot exist or survive if it doesn't come out from the engineering group with a standard. And most of the times is open standards or situations where we support those standards. We have several products that use open standards and implement even open source in it. The other thing is Microsoft Research is a very interesting scenario. It's like a place where Microsoft spends like $8 billion just for people to create things and contribute things back. So there's a lot of things going there on those things. A lot of things happening on what is being produced. And I'll go into this more in one or two examples of how Microsoft has learned this lesson on open source. This is a very interesting place to visit if you ever had time. It's Interoperability Bridges and Lab Center. There's lots of projects using programming languages. So on PHP, on Java, on Ruby, on how you have all this. And it's not only for work in Windows. It's really to have and leverage those programming languages. But here's the point. All this doesn't make any sense if you don't interrupt. So the key is, if you're going to private cloud, to public cloud, or if you're going to implement this thing, is you need interrupt. There's no way you can escape out of implementing anything if you don't interrupt everything. So when we talk about this, this is one of our major VPs or vice presidents is saying, I recognize that out there it's a mixed IT world. It's quite a change. So the guy said, okay, I recognize this is the customer asking Microsoft, please, I have both environments, and I won't just switch off the other one just because you want. So this recognition and addressing this heterogeneous environment was really quite a change for us. So my organization came in Microsoft. We call ourselves the Open Solutions Group. So we came to express this not only in an evangelism way, but also we sell this, we talk to customers, and we do evangelism internally as well, which I think it's sometimes much harder to go inside the company and say, listen, you have to change, because the customer wants a change. And the best way to address interoperability is this device. So this is what you have there. So this device is something that helps me get energy, because I can switch, okay, now I am in Europe, I can use this, or if I go back to Brazil, well, actually Brazil changed into something very strange. But, so this is the best example of something that interrupts. It's portable, it's useful, I can just connect there, and I get access. So we use a lot of this idea of this device. Actually, sometimes we distribute these devices just to show this. So right now, our focus is cloud. So we work with open source vendors. We started to work with Novell 6 years ago. When we started that, they said, oh, come on, tell the truth. You guys bought Novell. Microsoft bought Novell, and now you're going to destroy the world of open source. You're evil, right? Well, 6 years later, we have 800 customers worldwide. We sold more than 300,000 subscriptions for support in Linux. So, and those customers are worldwide customers that are using interoperability today through Microsoft. So this is not a scenario. And Novell is not there anymore. It was bought by a company called AttachMate, and now SUSE, which was the Linux distribution from Novell, went back to Germany. So SUSE is still our partner. We still go to customers and offer this Linux subscription. So Microsoft sells Linux, yes. Second bridge is very interesting. Microsoft became one of the 5 top contributors on the Linux kernel. Oh my God, I'm going to stop using Linux now, right? No, why? It's open. It's there. We have good developers. So this is a very interesting guy. He's a very KY developed a drivers so every Linux distribution can run on our virtualization platform. So this is true. Or bridges. We contributed to Samba. Which is Samba? Samba is the open source file server that really said, okay, we'll never do that. And this is one thing that's very important. The battles are mostly over and times have changed. There's no battles there. It's cooperation. So there's no enemy. It's about customers. It's about having customers listen. Okay, this is what I want. This is what I need. Jeremy Allison is a very important guy from the open source company. So he also said, here, Microsoft is becoming a major member of the OSS. Good, we're there. The other thing is supporting CentOS. So Microsoft officially supports CentOS in Hyper-V, which is our virtualization. So if you're a customer and you're using CentOS and you have a problem, you call Microsoft. We will give you support for free. So this is something that is very interesting. We'll provide this. The other thing is how to improve Windows in other platforms. So we have a program. We partnered with Red Hat. We partnered with Novell. We partnered with Oracle. We partnered with VMware, where we can bring those platforms together and we can run together. This is interoperability at work. The other thing is very interesting. This is a partnership with a Chinese company. So this company has a domestic Linux distribution in China. And they are owned by the government. What we're doing with them is providing technology, supporting them to run on virtualization platforms, supporting them to be managed by managed tools. So this is a very interesting and breakthrough agreement with China, because when other companies are moving away from China, Microsoft is really shaking hands with Chinese companies. And on cloud computing, this is a very interesting thing. So when we move to cloud, this is what we want. We want to be agile. We want to face economics, because the more you use, the less you spend. And you have to get focused. I'll go there. On the pool of resources, yesterday I was visiting this papyrus place, and it was very interesting how they create papyrus. It's the same thing how you would create the fabric for the cloud. What's that? So you put the stripes, and then you press them, and then after some time, there is this thing that is, you can't identify that this is a stripe. So this is what we call the fabric of a cloud. You can't identify if it's a server, if it's a storage, or if it's a network device. It doesn't matter. It's a fabric. It works. And it's elastic. And you can select anything you want from that place. You can use it. This is what we call the pool resources. You can get anything you want. This gives you agility. The other thing is elasticity. You really want this thing to be stretched, because sometimes you need more power. Sometimes the users want to deploy some campaign, and you need to have more power there. The other is transfer this to the user. Give them self-service. IT has not to be really into serving or doing things. It's more like, okay, let the user, empower the user to do that. And of course, what you want is, how much are you using? So this is what we want to say is usage-based. So this is changing. And so we have those two guys. One is the service provider and the other is the service consumer. This is the example. This can be, for example, the service consumer could be a citizen, and the service provider could be an agency. So, or it could be an agency and your IT department. So what the service consumer wants? He wants the pool of resources. He wants delegation and control. He wants this to be flexible and elastic and cost efficiency. So this is the data center. This is how you want to build this. On the other side, this guy really wants to be empowered. Remember, he's the user. Other thing, as a user, he doesn't understand too much. You need to simplify things for him. He wants to be self-service. He wants to go there and ask for creating servers or deploying an application. So how do we do this, right? And between those guys, of course, you have a service agreement. What this brings is actually, the future of this is common management, which is a secret. It's management. It's all about management. And you will see that Microsoft is moving away from platform specific. So the future of us is we don't care about where you're running your virtual machines. We'll manage. And those items are the most important things. So self-service, service management. You want to see how things are happening. You want to control that. Process automation. You want really to automate everything. Provisioning and configuration. So when the user wants an application, he just wants to click a button and the rest will take over. So provisioning is creating this miracle of, I want 10 servers tomorrow, but so this automation and provisioning will work for him. Monitoring is, okay, something is wrong, but what is wrong? How can you show a user what is really necessary and not just a million of things? It's your car, right? You just have one thing that shows you need oil. That's how you want this user to have this. And this is what we are offering as a reference architecture. It can be much more complicated than this, but this is, just to simplify, is that other side was a very easy story to tell, at least for Microsoft. It's all Microsoft. We understand everything we create, we understand Active Directory, we understand servers, but then, oh, what about XAMPP, KVM? Oh, what is about this JBoss thing, or Tomcat, or Apache MySQL? When do we face those things? How do we expect to engage with them? So this is how we create the interoperable platforms. So this is our reference architecture where we can show everything working together, interoperable, being managed, being provisioned with a self-service. So everything I'm saying here is in operation. You can have this on your data center, which we call private clouds, or you can have this in a public cloud. So this is an example of how we were accessing this today. This is not planned. And to end is three things I really want you to take from this. First, the goal is to build bridges, but why? Really enable choice. Customer rules. This is a learning thing? Yes. Customer rules. Enable customer choice. Second is ensure innovation. If people want to use different software, if they want to use Drupal, if they want to use Joomla, if they want to use WordPress, good. It's innovation. Let them use. If they want to use tablets running Android, good. We'll help them. And the most important thing, I think it fits for today, is deliver value in difficult times. It's how you can use your resources with a better performance, and how can you assess all those resources. So with this, it's what I had, and then my experience is we have been very successful by communicating this to customers, by communicating this to communities, open source communities, and by joining forces with open source companies to access exactly those three values. Thank you very much.